I'm trying to do this very quickly, so apologies if it sounds like I'm rushed. Peanut has been sleeping for a while. I've been getting some filming in, which is great, but we're stirring. So I'm afraid we're gonna wake up at any. We're gonna break up. Hello, everybody. My name is Kelsey, and we're about to get very, very nerdy with a spring book haul. That means these are books that I picked up in both March and April. I know spring is still happening, but I'm hoping to not have picked up too many things in May. We'll see. But it's springtime. It's feeling like it. We're about to hit summer. Very excited about that. So I have two relatively smaller stacks, but together they make a pretty decent stack. So we're doing them together. I'm trying to do this very quickly, so apologies if it sounds like I'm rushed. Peanut has been sleeping for a while. I've been getting some filming in, which is great, but we're stirring. So I'm afraid we're gonna wake up literally at any time. So let's get going. I'll leave everything that I can linked down below if you want to check something out, and I'm not doing a very good job of explaining it because I probably am not. But let's just dive right in. All right, starting with March. So there are, let's see, four. There are 4 books on my March haul that are not going to be in here because they're all picture books, and they're in Peanut's bedroom. Just know that we constantly buy her picture books. But in March, my husband, if you guys don't know, is an elementary school teacher, and they had the Scholastic Book Fair, and he always, he helps with that, but also like it's a book fair. I live vicariously through him, my childhood through him. So we picked up a few things for her, but there's 2 books that I picked up, or I said, hey, that looks good, and he picked up for me. One of them you will have already seen, so I'll just do that one first, which is The Last Dragon on Mars. This is by Scott Rainkid. This is the First Something Dragon Ships series. I was already planning on reading this in April. I just talked about it in my wrap-up, so go check out my thoughts on that, but I read it for Magical Readathon, and it'd been on my radar for a while, so when I saw that it was there, I said, hey, will you go pick that up for me? And he said, sure thing, will do. So this is the first, like I said, in a series. The second one comes out later this fall. I, spoiler, really enjoyed it. This is a recommendation from my best friend Lauren, who also really enjoyed it. This book is a mix of genres. We have sci-fi, fantasy, and a little dystopian thrown in there. We follow our main character, Lunar, who is living in kind of like, he lives on Mars, so he's a Martian. And it's set in this world where there are dragons, and every planet or star or moon or whatever, there's a dragon that like controls that or is one with that thing. And so in the history of this world, the dragon Gaia was the one on Earth, and she really wanted to create humans, so she died to create humans. And the humans were like, yay, thanks, we like this, we're gonna go try to commandeer Mars and see if their dragon Ares will do that. And Ares said no thanks. So they killed him anyway and created life on Mars, kind of, but like there's a curse on Mars, so like nothing grows there. Any animal that's there turns against humans, or I guess Martians. And so Lunar lives in this kind of like center where it's only kids that live there, and he's kind of the one who's in charge. So he's a scrapper. He goes out, they have all these dust windstorms, and he goes out to find anything that these windstorms have kicked up to sell. And so he's out on a mission, a raid, a search, whatever you want to call it, one day, and stuff happens. He ends up getting in a fight with some other raiders, and he ends up having to hide in this restricted area, and in doing so discovers a dragon and a team of kids and their adult who are working with the dragon. The dragon's a secret. It's like a secret military base for kids, kind of. And so he ends up being part of this and learning a lot about the lore of dragons and stuff that he has been taught incorrectly and all that kind of stuff. So it feels like a sci-fi. When you're reading, it feels sci-fi. So if you want sci-fi but like add dragons, highly recommend. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was written very well. And if you're a sciencey brain, you will enjoy it. If you're not sciencey brained, you'll also enjoy it, because I am very much not a science brain, and it was very well done. The other book he picked up for me from the fair is this one. It's called Otter. It's by Catherine Applegate. This is the author who wrote The Wishing Tree, which I read, I think, last April for Magical Readathon. I definitely read it for one of the readathons. I'm trying to remember if it was the spring or fall, but I definitely read it. It was very well done. My best friend Lauren loved that book, which is why I picked it up. And this is her other book. I think she's got more, but this is her other book that like spoke to me. Also, look how adorable this cover is. Do you see this little water? I mean, excuse me. Adorbs. So she has a very interesting writing style. It's very lyrical. So this one, I don't actually know what it's about, except for I'm pretty sure we just follow this otter. Otter spends her day off the coast of Central California practicing her underwater acrobatics and spending time with a good friend. She is fearless, daredevil, curious to a fault. But when Otter comes face to face with a hungry great white shark, her life takes a dramatic turn, one that will challenge everything she believes about herself and about the humans who hope to save her. It says it's inspired by a true story of the Monterey Bay Aquarium program. And there's also this really cool map in the end pages as well. So I just really enjoyed her last book. Otters are so cute. Really, this was a cover buy, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I saw the cover and I went, that's adorable, and added it to my TBR right away. So when I saw it, I said, Chris, please. So it's very, like I said, it's lyrical, it's very poetic, it's written in this verse style, so it's really easy to get through. That's how the Wishing Tree was as well, and I really enjoyed that. So I'm curious to see what fun things we're gonna learn in this book. And I don't know. It's just so daggum cute. And then the next three are just ones that I've randomly picked up. You will have seen a couple of these. The first one being The 13th Child by Erin A. Craig. I talked about this in my wrap-up. I read this in April. I picked this one up because I knew I was planning on reading it for the Magical Readathon. I'd had my eyes on it for a while. This was a Book of the Month pick, and I almost picked it up. And I'm kind of glad I didn't, because I like this size better, first off. But second off, I just bought a hardcover off of Amazon. Normal. Nothing crazy. And it actually came signed, which it didn't indicate at all that it was signed. And I'm so happy because I loved this book. So this follows our main character, Hazel, who is the 13th child. And when she was born, or so there was did you see my brain just kind of like spiral there? So this follows our main character, Hazel, who is the 13th child, and her parents make a deal with one of the gods, specifically the god of death, and he's going to become the godfather for this child. So when the child is born, he's going to come pick her up. He doesn't do that until she's 12. And so eventually he does come to get her, and he basically says, you're going to be a healer. Here's a bunch of books. Study them. And she's like, well, I'm sorry, what? And so she does. She studies these books. She learns a lot about healing, and then discovers that she has this gift, or Merrick is what the god of death tells her to call him. He kind of awakens this skill in her, which is that she can tell by touching someone what's wrong with them. And so she now has the knowledge to fix the problem, but if she can't figure out what's wrong with them based on looks, she can touch them, and her ability tells her that she could do this. On the flip side of that, however, if she touches them, sometimes a skull will appear, and that just means that they need to die, because A, there's nothing you can do to fix them. They're going to die anyway. And B, if you kill them, you can kill them humanely, but also like their prolonged life, like if they keep living, could spiral and hurt a lot of people. And so they're marked for death for a specific reason. And so this is her job. And then later on in the book, she ends up being called by the king, because the king is very sick, and she's got this like well-known stories are about her that like she can basically fix anything. And so she gets called to the castle to help the king, and then political stuff spirals from that. So if you like a royalty story, this is well done. It basically just follows the trajectory of Hazel's life and her relationship with Merrick, her godfather, and how I thought it was this is not a wrap up, but like the way that it was described was very well done. It felt very human, or very realistic, I guess is the better word, because like he does take on the role of her parent, and there's a lot of like that, like butting heads and watching your kid make mistakes that you don't want them to make, and you don't know how to stop them, but also like seeing them become their own person, and you really see Hazel as a person grow. And I just thought it was very well done. But it's got like a little bit of a gothic vibe to it, just because he's the god of death. But I loved it. I thought it was very well done. Not that you care, but I picked this one up for that reason. Someone woke up from her nap, so if you hear baby noises, she's here. Okay, what was I talking about? Right. The next book I picked up was funny story by Emily Henry. This is her most recent book out in paperback. Her most recent book is out, but I usually, like, I've collected all of her books in paperback, so I usually wait about a year. It just happens that way. So this is the one that I picked up because it just came out in paperback. This one came out last year, and I actually have started it. I'm about 100 pages in, and then just prioritize other things. So I'm hoping that in May I can prioritize this. But basically, this follows our two main characters. One is named Daphne, and the other one's name is Forgotten, and Miles. And Daphne was engaged, and Miles was engaged. Or like, were they engaged or were they just dating? Their two fiancés are basically best friends, and all of a sudden, they were supposed to get married, right? And they ended up falling for each other and breaking off the wedding. So now both Miles and Daphne have been broken up, and Daphne needs a place to live, so they end up kind of living together in an apartment. And it's the two of them figuring stuff out, and then both of their exes are now getting married to each other, and they are invited, and one night, drunkenly, they agree to go together and pretend to be dating. And so it's a fake dating situation, but they live together, and obviously, like, there's more to it. But what I love the most, I think, is that Daphne is a librarian, and it's so cool to see her brain and how it works. And like, her favorite thing to do is story time, and like, because Peanut is old enough, we've been starting to go to story time at our library, and it's just a really cool, like, perfect timing situation. So I'm excited. Fake dating is one of my favorite tropes, so I'm excited to see how this continues. But Emily Henry I had to pick up because I just love all of her books. All right, and then the last book that I picked up in March was Endless Terrors by KJ Sutton. Actually, I have a feeling I picked this one up sooner. I just forgot to tell you guys about it, but added it to March. Either way, this is the 5th book in the Fortuna Sworn series. I still have to read the 4th one. This is actually much smaller than the 4th one, so we're going back down to I mean, it's still chunky, but like, the 4th one is ridiculous. I've owned all the other ones. I really enjoy this series. I need to pick it back up. And the 6th one, I believe the 6th and final book comes out this year, I believe. I'm not sure it's actually out yet. We have a cover, but I don't think I can buy it yet, because, like, I think I've tried. Either way, this series follows our main character, Fortuna Sworn, who's a nightmare. And basically, she has this ability to, like, she can touch someone and then know what their greatest fear is and then, like, make them see that thing. At the beginning of the story, it's been a couple of years since her brother has gone missing, and she is approached by a fae male who basically says, hey, I can help you. I know kind of what happened to your brother. I can help you figure it out, but you have to marry me. And she agrees. And then it goes into, like, the Seelie and Unseelie court and all the stuff that comes with that. There's a lot of trauma in this book, specifically after the events of, I think it's the 2nd book. Yes, the 2nd book has a very traumatic ending. And so, like, there's a lot of trauma within the series. I have a suspicious feeling, based on what someone has said, that we might be going in a different path romantically in this series. So I think what my goal is going to be is, like, I'll wait until the 6th book comes out, and then maybe I'll just binge the rest of the series. Either way, I knew I was going to need to get my hands on this. I think I needed something to make my cart work for free shipping or something, so I picked this one up. But I do love this series, and this is just a very fun, like, very red, very different cover than any of the other ones have been. But I've really enjoyed it. It's got all kinds of magical creatures. It's definitely, if you like fantasy, it's definitely fantasy romance. Not romantasy, but fantasy romance. I think you'll really enjoy this, because, like, the romance is part of it, but it's not the biggest part. The fantasy is the bigger part of this. So I think it's fun. So I had to get that one. All right, books that I picked up in April. This first one is very, very random, but I picked up A Goblin of the Glade, and this is by Mackenzie Catron. I have the first book in this series, and Chris has discovered this app. Yeah, that we can go around, and he, like, scans all the books and puts them in his app, and they, like, organize everything for him. And I realized I had 2 copies of the first book, because I was gifted a finalized copy as an ARC. I didn't really need 2 of them, and so I decided basically to unhaul the paperback and then pick up the hardback of this one. I do have it on ebook. I was gifted the ebook and just am terrible and never got around to it. But I really enjoyed the first book, and this is kind of like a spin-off of that. But it's fantastical. It has to do with goblins. I think this one Yeah, it returns with beloved characters of the first book and then some. Embark on a journey filled with sisterly love and unique companionship in this new high stakes fantasy adventure, reminiscent of Grimm's fairy tales and European folklore. So I love this series, or I really, really enjoyed the first one. This one is like a spin-off, so like the characters, but it follows different people, and I'm excited to see how it goes. I had the first book I read physically, and I don't read fast physically, and I read it in a week because I was so invested in what was going on. So one of these days I'm going to give time to this one. I just haven't yet, but I wanted to pick it up because I obviously want to support the author. I really like her works, and I was going to do it anyway. I just hadn't gotten around to it. So now I have a nice little like library bound hardback that matches the first book, and I believe there's going to be more. I feel like it's going to be a trilogy, but either way, I wanted to support her, and now I've got a copy. So very excited about that. All right. Almost the rest of them, not all, are from my used bookstore. I went with my brother-in-law's girlfriend. Actually, we had a girls' day. It was a lot of fun, and I picked up some things that I've kind of had on my radar for a while. This first one, though, is not one of them, and that is Watermoon. This one is by Samantha Soto Yimbo, I think. This one is one of the books that is making the rounds this year. It came out earlier this year, and so many people have talked about this. It's like one of those um, I don't know what the right word for it is, but it's one of those like feel good translated books. A woman inherits a pawn shop where you can sell your regrets and then embarks on a magical journey when a charming young physicist wanders into the shop in this dreamlike and enchanting fantasy novel. So I didn't really have this on my radar. Like I'd seen it everywhere, but I hadn't really looked into it. I thought about picking it up, and then I saw it there, and it was such a beautiful, first off, it was such a beautiful copy, because what I think is really interesting is like you have this, but you also have stuff under the dust jacket, and also the book itself is just really, really pretty. But what I found really interesting is like this tells you how to fold this so it becomes a boat, and then like your two main characters are on it, which I think is really cool. Am I ever going to do that? Probably not, because it's the cover and I don't want to like do that to the cover, but I thought that's a really cool idea, and it was such a pretty book, and I've seen it everywhere, and I was out of my comfort zone, and I thought I would give it a shot, is really what happened. And also, like, this is so new. Why was it there? Who gave up on it? And like, this is a really good condition too. Like, it's not ripped in any way. It's very well taken care of. So I have questions, but either way, I picked this one up totally on a whim, mostly because it was beautiful. So we'll see what that's about. And then, so this book is one that I've seen and kind of had on my radar for a while. And it's Under Lock and Key, and this is by Lana Ferguson. This is honestly, don't know what it's about. A woman discovers that not all monsters are her enemies. The opposite. In fact, in this new paranormal romance, I did not realize it was paranormal. I just saw Scottish illustrated cover, knew it was a romance. Oh my god, love can be a real Loch Ness. Is this a romance between her and the Loch Ness monster? This just got bumped up on my radar so much. I just thought this was like a Scottish romance. I literally hadn't looked into this. I don't know. Sign me up. It looks fun. The next one I also don't know a ton about. This one is another Agatha Christie book. This one is a Tommy and Tuppence mystery. I've been collecting, well, I collect a lot of Agatha Christie books, but I really want to dive into the Tommy and Tuppence series because there's not very many of it, and I haven't dived into those quite yet. This one is Postern of Fate. I don't know specifically what this one is about, let's just say, but it's it's a murder mystery. I think it's a brother and sister duo. That's all I know. The next one I picked up, I feel like I saw this and it looked like an arc, but it's not. Anyway, it's Long Live Evil. This is by Sarah Reese Brennan. This is one that I've had on my radar for quite a while. I think it was on a TBR at some point. I definitely had the audiobook out at one point and then just didn't, from the library, and I just didn't get to it. But it's one that I'm very interested in because we follow our main character, Ray, who is in our world and she's dying. I'm not sure from what, but there's probably some medical trauma that goes with that. And so she ends up making a bargain to go into her favorite fantasy world. and she will live there. So she's like, sure, whatever, I'll do that. And then when she goes to this fantasy world, she ends up being the villain instead of the hero. And so she kind of like makes her own story. I don't know, just the idea of like, because usually what happens is people like dive into books and they're part of the story, and that's fantastic, but she becomes the villain of the story. And I think that's just really interesting, and I love a good villain origin story. It says it's time for her villain era. So I don't know, it just looks really cool. I think it's the first in a series. I don't know a whole lot about it. I'm very excited to see what it's all about. This one, I can't remember why I picked it up, but it's called The Gifts. It's by Liz Hyder. It says, it will take something extraordinary to show 4 women who they truly are. It follows, I'm just going to read you this because it's not very long. This is October 1840. A young woman staggers alone through the forest in an English countryside as a huge pair of impossible wings rip themselves from her shoulders. I'm now remembering why I picked it up. In London, rumors of a fallen angel cause a frenzy across the city, and the surgeon, desperate for fame and fortune, finds himself in the grips of a dangerous obsession, one that will place the woman he seeks in the most terrible danger. The Gifts is an astonishing novel, a spellbinding tale told through 5 different perspectives and set against the luminous backdrop of 19th century London. It explores science, nature, and religion, enlightenment, the role of women in society, and the dark danger of ambition. It was the wings. That's what grabbed me. I don't know. It feels very like fantastical, but also feels like a historical book. I'm also going through it and I'm realizing there's these beautiful illustrations in here. I just saw like something that looked like a newspaper article. I don't know. It just like seems like it'd be a really cool story. It's also like, this is a chapter. That's chapter 51. I turned the page, went a different chapter. So I think it'll be really easy to get through. I don't know, it just looked like fun. And the whole, just everything, from the time period to the gifts to the fallen angel to all of that just sounds really interesting. So we're gonna pick it up and see what happens. All right, the next one is one that I have always known was a book. Didn't have it on my radar. Like, I wasn't planning on picking it up. One of the prompts from the Magical Read, someone has decided to join us. One of the prompts for the Magical Readathon was find a fruit on the cover, and I was Googling and this book came up. So I thought I would give it a try and see. I don't know, it just like it came across and it's now, I'm interested in it. And it's Wayward, and this is by Amelia Hart. And it follows like 3 women in the same cabin. 2019, 16, 19, and 1942. And it's like these 3 women and their stories that weave together in this Wayward cottage. It's called the Wayward Cottage. And so, like, I think one of them is a witch, probably the one in 1816, or is like suspected of being a witch. I don't know. It sounded good. It sounded interesting. Usually the books that have like multiple time frames where you have like one moment in the present and one moment in the past and it goes back and forth, those usually don't interest me, but there was something about this one that really did. So I saw it there and I picked it up. So we're just gonna it's not very long and I will pick it up at some point. So we're down now to the very, very last book, which is The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren. So I don't know if this is the most recent one by them, but this one just came out in paperback earlier this year. And I'm trying to remember exactly. There's something about this one that sounds really, it's about a marriage. It's about a fake marriage. I'm remembering now. I'm just going to read the back to you. I know it's very boring, but I think it's written very well and it's funny. So it says, Anna Green thought she was marrying Liam Weston for access to subsidized family housing while at UCLA. She also thought she'd signed divorce papers once they went their separate ways, degree in hand. 3 years later, Anna is a starving artist while Liam is heir to the Weston Foods conglomerate. But Liam won't see a penny of his $100 million inheritance until he's been happily married for 5 years. With pressure mounting from Liam's family to meet his mysterious spouse, he has no choice but to turn to the one person he's afraid to introduce to his 1%er parents, his unpolished, not-so-ex-wife. As Liam and Anna play a loving couple, Liam's fears quickly shift from whether the foul-mouthed, paint-splattered Anna can fit in to whether the toxic world of wealth will corrupt her surprisingly grounded and supportive wife. His surprisingly grounded and supportive wife. Is the price tag on family's flimsy cover story worth losing true love that sprouted from a lie? So that just sounded really interesting. Also, I love Christina Lauren. I talk about them all the time. They're one of my favorite authors, or I guess author duos. and that's just the most recent one. It feels like a summer read, so this probably might come with me this summer. We are taking a trip this summer, and it includes flying, so I feel like we're going to get a good chunk of reading done. So, I don't know. It sounded good. It's Christina Lauren. It finally came out in paperback. I feel like I need to own all their books. So, here we are. So that's it. That is a look at all the books that I picked up the last couple of months. Peanut is trying to demolish my TBR cart, so we should go. But I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. As always, let me know if you've read any of the books that I mentioned in this video, or if there is some that I should put at the top of my TBR, or let me know if there's something that you have picked up recently that you're very excited to read. And if you want to comment something but you're not sure what to comment, comment a flower for the Paradise Problem. But if you like this video, and I very much hope that you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below if you'd like to be part of this awesome growing family. I've also got all my social media and other fun links down there, so don't forget to check all that out. And I will see you guys in my next video. Peanut says bye. Bye. So bye-bye. Want to wave? Ah, there you go.